welcome. I'll just do a check to make sure these comments are coming up on the screen. Wonderful, that's working. And I'll do a test on Twitch if that's coming up as well. Thank you everyone for joining me for this live stream. How you all going? Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Let me just do a test here. Fantastic. Fantastic. So let me jump over here. And once again, I need to make an adjustment because every time I do a live stream, I forget to make these changes. Every time. Overlay, which overlay is it? There we go. Good evening, everyone. How you all going? Welcome to a Sunday live stream. Now, since Rachel's gone over to her girlfriend's to, have a few birthday wines, and it doesn't take much these days, I thought we'd go through some of this legislation, because you've got the omnibus, the Emergency Measures and Others Acts Amendment Bill 2020, and I'm sure we've all seen, well, a lot of people have sent me stuff in the comments. Hang on, I'm getting a CPU overload. Why am I getting a CPU overload? Okay, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. If it's jittering, it means I need to upgrade my computer. We've seen, articles that were written, and many people have sent me stuff just about their concerns with regards to this legislation. And I'll be honest, I haven't read any of it yet. I have not read any of the articles or opinion pieces yet, and I thought I'd go through those tomorrow. But before I looked at some of the media takes, I thought we'd go through the bill and we'd look at a few different things here. So this is gonna be a long one, guys. And I don't have any rum. I don't have any rum today, unfortunately. I probably need to get some. But we'll make do with a stein of coffee. So the sound is all good. I've got the fan down here. Hopefully it's not blowing on the microphone, but guys, it's getting summer. Okay. So let's have a look at this. Now, what we have is the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures and Other Acts Amendment Bill 2020. And that it's gotten through the House, the Assembly, the lower house in Victoria. And for any bill or legislation, there's 3 steps it goes through. Now, there is a little video here, guys. A little, animation that explains it. And I'll just, because this is bullshit how they explain it. They explain, the 2 houses, and they keep saying that the politicians all debate and pick on what they vote for, which after seeing the cash ban debate, how you had people giving speeches, people emotive, politicians actually saying stuff that normal people want to be said, and there was no one there to hear it. That really just got me quite annoyed. But there's 3 steps to it, and I'll link to this, guys. I'll link to this so you can see it. You can't comment on it or share it. This is government video, but there's 3 readings. There's the first reading, the second reading, and the third reading in both houses. And in each reading of the bill, there's the opportunity for changes to make, and it gets progressively more detailed to the point where in the third reading, they should go through every single clause and point. Every single clause and point. Now, this bill is not particularly long, but it happened in 1 day, pretty much. Or in 2 days. So we can see here, and I'll put this in the chat, guys, if you want to watch that. I'll put that as a reference later on as well. There we go. I'll bring it up. If you're not familiar with that, it's probably a good thing for kids too. I mean, most of us really don't pay that much attention until our rights are being taken away. So on the 17th of the 9th, so 3 days ago, it had its first reading. And then its second reading was also on the 17th of the 9th. And then debate resumed. So there's meant to be, this first reading, there's meant to be enough time for the members to go through it and to engage with their constituents. The 18th, it had the second reading. And we'll look at some of the amendments here from the Greens. And then after the second reading, they had the third reading. And that's where they meant to go through it all in detail. So 2 days, guys. 2 days. They went through this. So it's gotten through the lower house, but it still needs to go through, in Victoria, it still needs to go through the upper house, guys. That's an advantage that the Victorians have. Well, no, that's what every other bloody state has except Queensland, because the Labor destroyed our upper house, voted itself out of existence. Funny that. And now no one wants to put it in, because then they've got, the Legislative Council keeping an eye on them, which is a shame. It's probably the one time I'd advocate for more government in people who are meant to represent us on a whole. So I thought we'd go through, there's a few steps. We'll go through here. This is during the first reading, and this is the bill. Now, we won't go through that yet. We'll go through some other stuff first. I think it's best to look at the speech and some other things here before we jump through this bill. Okay, and I'll try to get to your comments, guys, as I'm going through it. But, the first thing, when they table it, we can see here. Well, firstly, they table the bill. And they've got a explanatory memorandum, which we'll have a look at. And then at the second reading, they submit a... What is it? She gives a speech, the politician who submits it, and they put amendments in. And where is it? Where's this? Here we go. They've got the statement of compatibility. Okay, sorry, in the first reading, the statement of compatibility. So what is a statement of compatibility? Because I haven't heard of it. So this is from the Victorian, the Government Solicitor's Office and Human Rights. So, the Charter Act requires that any Member of Parliament who introduces a bill into Parliament must table a statement of compatibility before giving the second reading of the speech. The statement must state whether, in the member's opinion, the bill is compatible with human rights, and if so, how it is compatible, and if not, the nature and extent of any incompatibility. So I thought that was quite interesting. Let's have a look. We'll start by looking at this statement of compatibility, guys, before we even go through the bill. Okay, you happy with that? So, this is from Miss Hennessy, Minister for Workplace Safety, Minister for Coordination of Justice and Community Safety. In accordance with the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act 2006, I table a statement of the compatibility in relation to the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures and Other Acts Amendment Bill 2020. So here's her opening paragraph. And Mr. Nice Guy is saying, wow, that means half the legislation should be thrown out. Yeah, it should. And I haven't seen Computing Forever's video on this one either, guys. I plan to look at it. I just haven't had a chance. I thought I'd go through the actual bill first. So, in accordance with Section 28 of the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act 2006, I, on behalf of the Premier, make the statement of compatibility with respect to the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures and Other Acts Amendment Bill 2020. In my opinion, the bill as introduced to the Legislative Assembly is compatible with the human rights as set out in the Charter. I base my opinion on the reasons outlined in this statement. So, she thinks this is about human rights, guys, where they're extending the ability for people, for any civil servant, to essentially be given the right to lock you up, guys, for wrong thing. Extended detention. That's good, So, the bill extends the operation of temporary measures in the COVID-19 Omnibus to support the continued response to the coronavirus pandemic. The majority of these measures were originally due to sunset on the 25th of October 2020, 6 months after they commenced. The bill also implements a number of additional measures to further support the state's response to the pandemic and ensure that critical services can continue to be safely and effectively delivered during the pandemic in accordance with public health restrictions and the advice of the Chief Health Officer. These include amendments to The Public Health and Wellbeing Act, regarding the use of powers under the Act. Okay. The Occupational Health and Safety Act, to clarify that a breach of a COVID-19 public health direction is presumed to be an immediate health and safety risk in the workplace. So it's interesting how they're setting all of this up, the legislation, the rules in place to go here. The Children, Youth and Families Act 2005, to extend the period for which the Children's Court can make a family reunification order. I don't even want to look into that. That one's even more terrifying. The Children's, Youth and Families Act 2005 and Magistrates Court Act 1989 to provide Children's Court Registrars and Magistrate Court Registers with new powers. So human rights issues. For the following reasons, I'm satisfied that the bill is compatible with the Charter, and if any rights are limited, those limitations are reasonable and demonstrably justified, having regard to the factors in Section 7.2 of the Charter. Extensions of temporary amendments to the Act. So, I mean, here we go. You can have these legislations, you can have these limitations, you can even have a human rights charter, and they can just, you know, write some paperwork and get around it. The bill amends the repeal date of multiple sections of the Omnibus Act to the 26th of April 2021, which will extend the operation to temporary amendments to the Local Government Act 2020 to permit local councils, joint meetings of councils, delegate committees, meetings, regional library meetings to continue to be held virtually or to stream their meetings live. So what, are they extending this to that date? Is that what they're saying? Are they giving themselves the potential to continue that until April 2021? No, that can't be right. Can they? Can it, guys? Planning and Environmental Act to allow panels to, remote meetings, parliamentary committees to have remote meetings, the Education Training Reform Act to continue to allow for the extension of certain registrations and for notices relating to disciplinary proceedings to serve electronically. So they're allowing all this stuff to do remotely. The Criminal Proceeding Act to continue to allow trials for Victorians in indictable offences to be handled by judge alone in certain circumstances. Wow. So that's right. Are you responding to my question, guys? If this is going until April next year? I mean, that can't be. I have to be reading that wrong. I mean, this is the thing, guys. Authoritarian regimes in the past were acting within the bounds of the law. The Magistrate Courts Act, they can, yes. The Evidence Act 59 to continue to allow the courts greater flexibility to hear matters by audiovisual link. The Criminal Procedures Act, the Supreme Court Act, and County Court Act to enable the courts to decide issues entirely on the basis of written submission without the appearance of parties. Wow. Okay. That April next year at a minimum, Mr. Nice Guy says. Oh boy. Rob Grace is saying, I was talking to an old man in Toowoomba today. He's still terrified. He was asking about how close to my house the nearest case was in Brisbane and if I was doing anything to keep safe. Oh, I mean, eat healthy, breathe, walk around, not be 70. There you go. There's what you can do to be safe. Boy, Open Courts Act. So they want to restrict physical access to the courts. The Court Security Act to extend clarification, and authorized officers may exercise their existing powers in relation to security, good order, or management of court premises for the purposes of maintaining public health. See, this is the thing, guys. When you see people are arguing with the police or arguing with other authorities, they've got they're giving themselves the authority. Now, this is only the human rights response. The Crimes, Mental Impairment and Unfitness to be Tried Act 97 to continue to allow proceedings with greater flexibility throughout the pandemic. The Children, Youth and Families Act 2005 to continue to be authorize the isolation of children and young people in a youth justice facility to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in that facility. I wonder, what does that mean? Isolation of children. Does that mean restrict? I don't even know. That's. I'll put a little symbol here. That's one to look up for, because that's worrying. The Sentencing Act 91 to continue to allow magistrates court to impose electronic monitoring conditions as part of a community correction order. So there you go. Just sounding like Australia, guys. Just sounding like Australia. The Corrections Act 86 to continue to restrict persons who can visit a prisoner and to allow the issue of quarantine directions in corrections and youth justice custodial facilities to enable the testing, treatment and care of quarantine prisoners. The Fines Reform Act 2014 to extend the registration period for infringement fines issued during COVID-16 from 6 months to 12 months. Okay, so there's to allow a period for some fines to be paid. Okay, so there's a nice thing. There's a nice thing. They're giving you longer to pay your fines. So when they fine you for putting your bin on the street after they, tackle you to the ground or drive over you in a car, they'll give you longer to pay it back. Isn't that nice, guys? I mean, I'm going to raise my stein of that one. And hey, Pub, thanks for taking care of the Twitch stream. The Workplace Injury Rehabilitation and Compensation Act and the Accident Compensation Act to extend the notice of termination period for second entitlement determinations from 13 weeks to 39 weeks. Okay. As outlined in the Statement of Compatibility for the Omnibus, the emergency measures included in the Omnibus Act engaged a range of charter rights. In each instance, I was of the view that any limitation of rights was proportionate and justified in the circumstances. Now, this is what they're seeing. They're justifying that they're taking away our rights, or Victorian rights, and it's proportionate and justifiable. Where's the evidence to base that? We'll have to look at that other act, or that other charter, which included the need to protect life and health of Victorians and ensure the ongoing safe and effective delivery of public services during the pandemic. Okay, but what about the lives that are getting destroyed and the mental health issues that are manifesting everywhere? Is that even considered? I mean, here's the thing. If she's making these claims, and her department, and there's a basis to these claims, and we find out that it was a serious issue, what's going to happen? Will anything happen? Will they be held to account? What happens to politicians that abuse their authority, or civil servants that do a shit job? Any limitation of rights by the emergency measures in the Omnibus Act was further justified due to their temporary nature. Well, really, but everyone's saying nothing, they retire. They're extending them again. Is this going on to April next year? The measures were to expire on October the 25th, 2020, 6 months from their commencement. And remember, this is only possible because the idiots in the Animal Justice Party and some other ones, and the former Libertarian Sex Party let it go through, let the extension go through. Now they can ram this through. I hope and expect that the measures would not be needed beyond this time. Well, maybe the fact that you've implemented these measures and you haven't been able to mitigate the impact of the virus, maybe that's showing you that these measures aren't effective. Unfortunately, due to the resurgence of COVID-19 in Victoria, because of the, incompetence of the government, but that's another topic, the ongoing state of emergency and the newly declared state of disaster, the circumstances that gave rise to the need for the emergency measures in the Omnibus Act continue, and therefore so does their justification. There you go, guys. There you go. They can just keep kicking the can. I mean, this is no different to property, guys. They're just going to kick the can down the road as long as they want. It remains difficult to predict how long the emergency measures will be needed. It remains difficult to predict how long the emergency measures will be needed. The bill extends most of those measures that are still required for a further 6 months until April 26th, 2021. Yep, okay, no, till April, guys. They're extending these measures till April. How's everyone in the chat going? Bloody hell. Six months strikes the balance of providing enough time to address the pandemic. We've already had 6 months. Whilst not extending the measures and any limitation of human rights beyond that point that is reasonably justified. Therefore, where the bill temporarily extends emergency measures provided for the Omnibus Act, I'm of the view that for the reasons outlined in the statement of compatibility for the Omnibus Act, these reforms are compatible with the Charter. So, I mean, what's the point in having this Charter? I guess, well, it creates a job for someone to write this document. Extension of power to make the emergency regulations to override Justice portfolio legislation. The bill extends without modification the power of the Governor in Council to make regulations that modify or disapply particular provisions of certain justice-related act. Oh, shit. These emergency regulations may only be made in relation to specific procedural matters, such as statutory timeframes and the conduct of court or tribunal proceedings, and only in limited, defined circumstances. Emergency regulations issued to date demonstrate this measure's importance as a mechanism to reduce unnecessary pressure on justice and integrity agencies and ensure the effective administration of justice and law in Victoria during the pandemic. Does that scare anyone else, guys? In line with normal subordinate legislation Act 94 requirements, the Attorney General will continue to be required to consider the impact of the regulations on charter rights when making recommendations to the Governor in Council. Additionally, the bill extends all safeguards on the exercise of this power. These safeguards have ensured that emergency regulations are only made where there is an appropriate nexus to COVID-19 and are directed at enabling the justice system to operate safely and effectively in a way that promotes the right to life and security of persons. I don't trust any of this. We've seen how quickly the COVID-19 pandemic can develop. The ability to make regulations rather than amend principal legislation continues to be necessary given the evolving nature of the emergency and the need to act quickly in response to emergency risks to the health, safety, or welfare of persons. In these circumstances, and noting the broader impacts of the pandemic, it may not be possible to practice to convene Parliament to consider legislation to respond to urgent and emerging issues. Now, essentially, they can just make regulations. So, you have a bill, and often you have a regulation that's sitting aside the bill where they can easily amend the regulation without having to sit Parliament. So they're just going to give themselves the capability to issue regulations for certain things as they need. But don't worry, guys. It's only to do with COVID-19. Don't worry. I'm sure it doesn't have the potential to be abused. There's no historical precedent for this type of stuff in the past. Is there? Is there? Amendments to the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. The bill introduces temporary amendments to the Public Health and Wellbeing Act, which amend who can be authorized to exercise certain powers under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act, and expand the existing powers to detain high-risk persons under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. The exercise of these powers will engage rights protected by the Charter. The amendment will be repealed on the 26th of April 2021. Expansion of categories of people who can be authorized officers. Now I think these two things are pretty scary. And opinions are good as saying there's no precedent in Australia. Yeah, but a whole lot of people have come over here who've lived through it. If only, although they may be dying off now. I think my father was a 6-year-old at the end of the war. If only his children. Seeing what happens. The bill introduces a new Part 13 into the PHW Act, which will only be in place until the 26th of April 2021. It includes a new Section 250, which expands the types of persons who can be appointed by the Secretary as authorized officers, okay? Potentially including health service staff, WorkSafe inspectors, sworn Victorian police members, and protection services officers. It also enables the Secretary to appoint individuals considered appropriate for appointment based on their skills. Now, why would they base something on their skills here when they pick the security guards based on, having Indigenous inclusion programs, when the Victorian Labor Party believes in bullshit like the wage gap and discriminates on other appointments? Can you see how that's shit, which the active positive discrimination, which they think is real, could manifest in this? Do you think it could? And what could be the consequences of that? Shit, this is not looking good. So attributes, experience, or otherwise. So maybe it'd be, a social justice expert to identify the wrong thing people. Bloody hell, guys. This would, for instance, enable the appointment of individuals in Aboriginal-controlled community organisations to assist and, where relevant and needed, to enforce public health directions. This will enable that there is a wider and, in some communities, more trusted pool of public servants and individuals available to perform the various functions given to authorised officers under the PHW Act, and in particular, that Victorian police and WorkSafe inspectors have appropriate powers to enforce public health directions. So they're going to deputise people, essentially, to get their posse of Stasi. How do you all feel about this one, guys? We've got 200 people watching. Thanks for joining. If you're late to the show, we're reading the Statement of Compatibility, which is submitted along the first reading of the bill, which explains how they're essentially how they justify breaking all the rules in their Victorian Human Rights Charter. Thanks for the super chat, agents, Mitmimi. Those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither... Bloody hell, I can't read. Neither liberty nor safety. By good old Benny F. Good old Franklin. Shit, I'm glad I moved out of Victoria, guys, as a kid. But, here's the thing. This hasn't got through to the upper house. You have an upper house in Victoria, guys. We don't. Labor got rid of ours in the 1920s. We're kind of screwed. I hope they don't get in again up here, guys. Okay, I need another drink. Coffee. So, authorised officers are provided with significant powers under the PHW Act. And this is what everyone in the media is talking about, what they're scared about, which may limit charter rights in a number of ways. Okay, when they're saying that, which may limit rights, that means taking away your rights. Okay, this is how they write their human rights charter, and this is how they get around it. As I said, this is it. This is the Statement of Compatibility. So all this, yeah, it is coffee, Brett. Rachel's going to do a mate up the street, and she's they're probably going to hit the wine. I'll probably have to take Eddie to the doctors tomorrow. Not my luck if Rachel has a hangover. Anyway, but they can make these human rights charters that all sound good and win votes, but then they put all these loopholes in here where they just write a piece of paper and take away your rights. Road to hell, everyone. So, it is not possible to foresee every potential use of the powers under any declaration of a state of emergency. Oh, I think there's enough historical examples we can see. The full scope of the rights that will be engaged by the exercise of authorized officers' powers will depend on exactly how many people they need to round up for the trucks to the... Oh, sorry, I was drifting off there. Will depend on exactly how the powers are used and implemented. See, I shouldn't be... I'm reading Ordinary Men right now at the same time as all of this is going on. That's probably a really bad thing for me to be doing. At the time the powers are exercised, decision makers will be required to give proper consideration to the precise way in which rights will be limited. So, they can give anyone they pick the rights to limit, or the power to limit your rights, guys. What do you reckon? One of the mechanisms provided by the Public Health PHW Act that ensures these extensive powers will be exercised properly is restricting who can use these powers. This is one way of ensuring that any limit to rights that occur under these powers, any act that uses these powers, is proportionate and is not arbitrary. The amendment does not specify which other persons may be appointed. When appointment decisions are made, the Secretary must be satisfied that the person is suitably qualified or trained to be an authorized officer for the purposes of the Public Health Workers Act. And Svetka, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. So, I mean, there you go. They'll be properly trained. Mate, are you hearing what I'm reading here? This isn't, this is from Hansard, mate. Do you know what that is? Maybe you don't. It's all good. You can learn. Because remember, this was only meant to be 6 months. That'll never be longer. It's Australia. So, it is contemplated that police officers and PSOs could be appointed as authorized officers under the PHW Act. This will allow them to use reasonable force to enforce compliance with directions, enter premises to investigate non-compliance with directions without a warrant, and allow them to ask people their names and addresses and other information to determine if public health directions are being complied with. See, this is the thing. This is, you know, the lady in the car who... Yeah, no warrant, guys. The lady in the car who was just refused to hand over her name. Then, this is an example of where that's an issue, guys. The mere fact that these existing powers are exercised by a different class of person does not limit any further rights already engaged by the powers, in particular the right to privacy and home in Section 13.1, and the protection against self-incrimination in Section 25.2. Although noting that the amendments do not remove the protection for self-incrimination in Section 212 of the PHW Act, however, they do expand the powers of traditional law enforcement agencies significantly. Because the police are trained in the use of force, and police officers are required to carry a firearm whenever undertaking operational duties, the exercise of these powers by police officers could be perceived or experienced differently by members of the public to public health officials. You think? You think, guys? You think? Thanks, G Slim, for the super chat. Hey, Heise, similar to properly trained hotel security guards. No. Yeah, well. Shit. This could potentially increase the likely limits on the non-interference, privacy, and personal and autonomy aspects of the right to privacy in this section of the Charter when these powers are being exercised. However, I do not consider that the exercise of the existing powers by police and PSOs will unreasonably limit the rights already engaged. And in my view, the relevant provisions remain compatible with the Charter. And you wonder why... Hey, Nicole, thanks for joining. We're reading the statement of compatibility, and this is what they submit with the bill to justify breaching the Human Rights Charter, pretty much. We've gone through here all how they can appoint people. And, yeah. So, sorry, guys, I need a shot of coffee, because this is... This is not fun to read. But this is important. This is something we need to be aware of, guys. You know, this is something we need to be aware of. Because this is what our politicians can do. Matthew's asking, do you even do a catch-up in Brizzy? I want to, mate. I want to. To be honest, I'll probably be real bad and just do it with my 40th, mate. And we'll go to the German club and I'll invite everyone. Have a big party and just get pissed. You know, not even pretend to be grown up. I think we'll do that if we can. If we can. Oh, and thanks for the super chat there, Nick. Mate, this is what you're living under. I feel sorry for you, mate. I feel sorry for you. So, this amendment is necessary to allow the powers of the Public Health Worker PHW Act to be exercised by a greater range of officers depending on the specific task required to be performed. I mean, here's the thing. Well, I mean, I just saw a comment about the German club. Maybe it's not a good thing. Well, no, I mean, you know, government restrictions like this in German clubs, yeah, they've got historical precedent, don't they? Rolf was talking about the German club, German Hall Putsch. I mean, that's the counter to this shit, isn't it? That's where it goes. Authorized officers, as currently allowed under the PHW Act, may not possess the broad and varied range of skills that have been shown to be required to deal with the current pandemic, which necessitates this temporary change. In some cases, authorized officers are not practically able to be located in the relevant geographic areas, and in other cases, the skills required for the tasks are better performed by another type of officer, such as a work-safe inspector, or an individual appointee, such as a worker at an Aboriginal community-controlled organisation. These amendments, hang on. Sorry, guys. Okay. Rachel sent a photo. I was expecting a bottle of wine. I was worried. It's just, you know, sweets and meat. You know, good girls are behaving. These amendments allow sufficient and appropriate resources to be deployed to deal with enforcement and other issues. I do not consider that they change the outcome of the proportionate assessment under Section 7.2 with respect to any of the rights engaged. So, expansion of powers to detain. Adrian's asking me to stop dodging the implications of all of this. How am I, mate? This is fucked. Pardon my language. Uh-oh, I've been demonetized now by YouTube. You know? This is, well, showing the process of how a government takes away your rights and justifies it, and has a nice little paper trail. And then 100 years' time, someone reads a book called Ordinary Men. About the same thing, all the steps, and people wonder, how could this possibly have happened in Australia? How could all these people have agreed to this stuff? So, the new Part 13 also contains a new Section 200A, which broadens the ability of authorized officers to exercise the emergency powers to detain high-risk persons under the PHW Act. Specifically, new Section 200A provides that a designated authorizing officer may detain a person if a direction has been given in the exercise of an emergency power under this section here that you can read yourself, and the designated authorized officer has a reasonable belief that a person required to comply with the direction is a high-risk person who is likely to refuse or fail to comply with the direction. So, thanks for the, thanks for the super chat, agent. Mate, where's it coming? Here we go. I'll bring it up here. So, I think I know you'll give me shit for repeating stuff again, and sorry I'm swearing, but I feel like I got to. Let's go through this one again. Expansion of powers. So an officer, and we saw who they can determine to be one. Captain saying I get this... Well, I don't think I'd get this... Hang on. G-Slim is asking, can I ask the audience, do they know any sources of information on this Strong Cities network? Guys, let him know in the chat. I don't know what you're talking about there, mate. So, I mean, this is what the newspapers are worried about. This is what I'm worried about, too. I mean, come on. I'm going to be brutally honest, but I think you're going to have a risk of some dumb idiot public servants being given more power and it going to their heads. So, this amendment engages but does not limit the right not to be subject to arbitrary detention in this section. Okay. It doesn't limit the right not to be subject to arbitrary detention. Hopefully, subsection 21.2 of the chapter requires that a person must not be lawfully or arbitrarily detained. Detention under section 201A is clearly a deprivation of liberty for a finite and regular reviewed period of time. The amendments will satisfy the requirements of lawfulness as they will constitute the relevant law. It is likely that any detention would be considered arbitrary if it was disproportionate or unjust, or if it was not based on any identifiable criterion and was therefore able to be exercised capriciously, although there remains conflict in the Victorian jurisprudence about the meaning of the word arbitrary. I mean, does this mean they have the capacity to just extend it again and again and again? So if they assume, if they consider you, if you're given a direction as a high-risk person under their reasonable belief, if they assume that you are a high-risk person, they can detain you guys. It's right here. This is how they're addressing it. This is how they're dealing with the issue of unlawful or arbitrary detention under the Human Rights Charter. So Labor will set up these rules, and then they'll just create a mechanism to get out of it, guys. Oh, hang on. Jardy Fee is... let's go. This is not about power. It's about having a picnic in the park with your kids. We just want the virus under control so I can have a barbecue safe in the knowledge that it's going to be okay. Mate, have a look at the video I did about D.A. Henderson's recommendations of this. About disease mitigation. He's a well-known epidemiologist who wrote about just the implications of all of these restrictions. There's health implications to this. Businesses are dying because of this. And, I mean, if you're a woman under 50, your risk of dying of this is nothing. It's non-existent. It hasn't happened. So you need to... Don't let the fear and the media get you. Actually, if you want to feel better, look at how many people recover every day. I was doing that every day at one point. Go to Johns Hopkins map and you can see the numbers there. People are doing fine. The media just focuses on the negative because, well, as a YouTuber I know, it gets the clicks. The amendments will allow a person to be detained under the existing emergency detention power in the PHW Act on the basis of what a designated authorized officer reasonably believes is a person a person is likely to do. So if they think that you're likely to do something, they can detain you. Does that... some of you were saying in the comments that what was that movie, Minority Report? Although these terms do not involve an authorized officer making an assessment or prediction of future behavior. Okay, no, so it's not about, it's not thought crime, guys, I consider that the criteria for that assessment are sufficiently clear so as to avoid the power being exercised arbitrarily. See, they write this, they put it in Parliament, and it makes sense. But do you think in the heat of the moment, someone who's emotional, someone screaming at you, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do what they need to do. the person acting there, maybe they're afraid, maybe they're scared, maybe someone's just going, irate, and they want to they want to protect themselves. People might be scared. And then, oh no, it was arbitrary. Oh, well, their mate's going to write something up for them. I also note that the courts will accept the use of protective detention powers in other circumstances where an assessment is required of future risk, such as under the preventative detention regimes for serious sex offenders. Although the prediction of future risk is not an exact science, where it has a rational basis, it will not be arbitrary. I therefore conclude that although a person may be deprived of their liberty in an expanded range of circumstances, any such deprivation will be lawful. We will not be arbitrary, and so will be compatible with the right of this section in the Charter. What do you think about that one, guys, before we go on to the next one? Bloody hell. Amendments to the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So, the bill inserts Part 16 into the Occupational Health and Safety Act 2004, which will only be in place for 6 months. Fuck off. Only be in place for 6 months. Bill. Wow, this is scary stuff. Time to get out of Victoria, or won't it matter? Is this the way we're going all over now? Now, okay, I know this is scary, but there's still an opportunity to block this in the upper house in Victoria. And I've got all the lists of all the people here who are in your upper house who you can call to and go, you can refer to this legislation and go, I'm concerned with this deprivation of liberty, I'm concerned with this risk. At least that's something you can do. And shit, I mean, if people are at home, they can do it all now. So I'll link that down below, or you can find it there. And, hang on. Agent is saying, not about power, so we don't need a curfew or lockdowns. Then protect the vulnerable, sure, but let the healthy population manage their own risk. Yeah, like other countries that did that, didn't they? I think they're too far committed. They're too far into this politically, they can't get out. They can't get out, and I think, yeah. I mean, they're saying it'll only be in place for 6 months. Does that even matter if the whole thing was only meant to be in place for 6 months, and now we're hearing that it's going on till April 2021? So this part establishes that a breach of a public health direction is taken to be an immediate risk to the health or safety of a person for the purpose of this section 112 and 120 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Section 112 allows an inspector to issue a person who has control over an activity in a workplace with a notice prohibiting the carrying out of that activity if it involves an immediate risk to the health or safety of a person. Section 120 allows an inspector to give a direction to a person at a workplace if necessary because of an immediate risk to the health or safety of a person. We can see what that could... Oh. The inclusion of these new provisions mean that WorkSafe inspectors can take expedited enforcement action to prevent, reduce, or mitigate the workplace exposure to COVID-19 on the basis that the direction under the Public Health Workers Act, which can only be made where the officer making the direction has determined under the PHW Act that there is a risk to public health, is a sufficient basis for making a direction or issuing a notice under these provisions. Now, these people that are engaged to do these, workplace inspectors, how many of them you think are just going to get there? They're going to be trying... shit, how are they going to know what they're doing? Really? This means that WorkSafe inspectors can rely on the assessment made under the Public Health PHW Act without having to undertake that consideration again. Okay, so they're just going to follow... It's just going to be a paper trail down, and they'll just use that to justify what they're doing, won't they? which may be a consideration. They are less qualified to undertake that than a person issuing the directive. Okay. It is preferable that WorkSafe inspectors are able to take action to support compliance with the Public PHW Act directions in workplace under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, since the Occupational Health and Safety Act is tailored to the legal obligations arising in that environment rather than utilizing the offense provisions. Okay. Given that sections 112 and 120 create indictable offences for failures within workplaces in relation to conduct, that is also likely to be a breach of sections 193 and 203 of the PHW Act. It is possible that a person could be charged with two different offences relating to the same wrongful act. However, this does not mean that the person will be tried or punished more than once for the same offence. Oh, isn't that nice? Agent Smith, thanks for another super chat, mate. Next, they detain you for driving your car as you might hurt someone in an accident. Well, yeah. What are we looking at here? Oh, bugger. Hang on. Hang on. I've got my, I've lost my stuff. There we go. There we go. Got it back. So, the rule against double jeopardy does not prevent more than one penal consequence flowing from the same act, and the act constitutes more than one offence. The double jeopardy principle generally applies where a person is charged with exactly the same offence for which they have been previously acquitted, or an offence which is subsequently and practically the same. A court may choose to stay a proceeding as an abuse of process if it involves relitigation of a previously decided factual issue, and in particular will not allow the prosecution to question or call into question a previous acquittal. In addition, the prosecution is generally required to include all related offences in the one indictment and can use the subsequent indictments for related offences which may be found to be vexatious. Okay, I need more coffee. Hang on, I'm just seeing. Guys, if you swear in your comments on YouTube, it gets caught and it won't appear here, and I'm not moderating very well. You know, so behave. Or, you know, I'll do the swearing for you, don't worry. I think it's justified tonight. Let's let me just too much coffee. Never. So, the court is likely to suspect all related charges under the Occupational Health and Safety Act and Public PH Act to be included on one indictment. Yep. So, powers of the Magistrate Court and Children's Court registrars. Children in the criminal process and rights in criminal process. The bill will provide for new powers for registrars of the Children's Court to change the date, time, or place at which certain proceedings are listed. It will also extend and expand the powers under the Omnibus Act for registrars of the Magistrate Court to change the date, time, or place at which criminal proceedings are listed. These measures may engage the right of an accused child to be brought to trial as quickly as possible under Section 23(2) of the Charter, and the right of an accused person to be tried without unreasonable delay under that section of the Charter. The impacts of COVID-19 have placed considerable strain on the court system. The new powers in the bill and the extension and expansion of the powers under the Omnibus Act will enable both the Children's Court and the Magistrates' Court to more effectively manage the listing and relisting of matters. The new powers will assist courts to safely manage and prioritise proceedings while practising social distancing and minimise face-to-face proceedings. This is consistent with the right to life under Section 9 of the Charter. Thank you very much for the chat, Agent Smith. The most dangerous and insidious parts of the legislation will be the last page hidden. in an obscure paragraph from Yes Minister. And thank you as well, Wayne, for your super chat with your emoji thing that I don't think I can bring up on this thing. I suspect this is just for Crescio's asking certain questions which you can't really mention on YouTube to, well, allow remote trials, really. I'm hoping it doesn't get as... But then again, it doesn't matter, they can detain people anyway if they just... As we saw previously, they can detain you anyway. Maria, how you going? Our resident yoga instructor. Welcome. You didn't pick a good video to join us today. Is this pretty depressing, what we're looking at. So on balance, I consider that any limitation on the rights in sections 23.2 and 25.2c of the Charter are targeted at reducing the risk to public health and promote the right to life. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I do not consider that there are less restrictive means reasonably available. I mean, this is the thing. Protection of families and children. Australia is not real, just ask any flat earther is suggesting organise a protest. That would probably be the last thing to do considering the laws they've just given themselves in front of Andrew's house. I would contact the members in the legislative into the upper house in the council, legislative council, to specifically mention issues you have with this legislation. You know, don't sound like a nutter. Don't say specific things that you have issue with. So you want to sway some of the people. You need the flippers. The flippers, they're the ones, but we'll have to see. Section 17.1 of the Charter recognises that families are the fundamental group unit of society and are entitled to protection by society and the state. Doesn't feel like it, does it? Guys, is that what it feels like it to you here in Australia? Section 17.2 of the Charter provides that every child has the right without discrimination to such protection as in their best interest and is needed by them by reasoning of being a child. The new and extended powers for registrars of the Magistrate Court and Children's Court may engage the protection of families and children under Section 17 of the Charter, as the powers will enable registers to change the date, time or place proceedings. Okay, it's the same thing. They're just moving court dates around. The impacts of COVID-19 are, additional strain. Amendments to the crimes, mental impairments and unfitness. Same thing, guys. Fair hearing. Amendments to the Children, Youth and Families Act 2005. Skins is asking, will this get through Heise or what, bro? I'd be shocked if it doesn't. I mean, the problem is, we have a look here. I mean, who's going to vote for it? Everyone in Labour will just tick and flick. Hinch will vote for it. You know, the Animal Justice Party will vote for it. That's the problem. You know, we'll go through all of these ones later. The Hinch part, Hinch is just... I lost a lot of respect for him. I grew up watching him as a kid. You know? The bill engages the right on protection of families and children in Section 17 of the Charter, as well as the right to privacy in Section 13 of the Charter, by amending the Children, Youth and Families Act 2005. By extending the period of time for which a family reunification order may be made or extended. Section 17.1 of the Charter recognises that families are the fundamental group unit of society and are entitled to be protected by society and the state. Yep. A family reunification order is a protection order made by the Children's Court when it is presently not in the child's best interest to reside with and be cared for by a parent, but a parent may be able to permanently resume care for the child in the future. It gives the Secretary to the Department of Health and Human Services parental responsibility for and responsibility for the sole care of a child, and may include conditions that promote the reunification of the child with the children's parents. So they can extend these time periods, guys. And so, in my opinion, any limits on the rights in sections 13 and 17 of the Charter are reasonable and demonstrably justified under the extraordinary circumstances posed by the pandemic, and achieve an appropriate balance with the rights of families and the rights of children. So yeah, well, there's that. So what we've gone through now is the statement of compatibility, guys. This is how it's compatible with the Human Rights Charter in Victoria. So the members of Parliament have to write the statement of compatibility and, well, to tell us how they are breaking the rights that we've been given. So you're given rights in the Charter, and then when they submit it at the first reading, so here they put the first reading, then they did the statement of compatibility was tabled, and we've just gone through that. Okay, then it was the second reading of the bill, and that's when she gave her speech. Her speech. And we might have a look at that, guys. So here's Miss Hennessy, and this is her speech. Now, I tried to find the video footage of this, but I couldn't. I couldn't find it. They don't live stream it, they don't record it. It goes out live, so you got to capture it while it happens. And I guess I'm not insane enough yet to be recording all politics. Maybe that's something to do. Maybe that's something to do. Just record all of this. What have I done? What have I done here? How are we all going? Let's see. What are people saying in the comments? Hang on. You're taking too much on face value. Some of the changes you're trivializing are extreme. I'm sure they are, but probably just because I'm not a lawyer, so my understanding of the court cases or the legal system, I can't see the implications of it. I'm more worried about the powers that can be given to people. That's what they can do. Adrian says no recordings, none that I could find. None that I'm sure I could probably get them somewhere. I may need to ring up. You know, I may need to ring up and find out. But it's not done on YouTube. The Grand Visit, Florian for PM. I'd be a horrible PM, mate. My Austrian heritage would come back. Would come through. You know, we all have it. We all have a limit of shit we can handle. Nah, it'd be terrible. I'd say we just divide the country up into city-states. You know, to hell with the federation. And let's all go different ways. All the lefties just move to Victoria and play there with, you know, with your super lockdown laws and authoritarian leaders. Bloody hell. So, anything else, guys? Jerry's saying at least in jail you get food for free and accommodation. Yeah, you don't need to pay rent. Shit, you could probably just wait for the article from Domain. You know, being in prison helped me buy my first house. Buying an investment property while you're in prison. What do you reckon? What do you think? How long do you think we'll see it? Okay. Hi, Russian bot saying I need a COVID t-shirt merch. I actually want to get a flatten the curve mask, you know, and do the GDP curve. What do you reckon? I should make that up. Oh, Mr. Nice Guy. Shame, shame, shame from Hinge. Yep, I remember that, mate. I remember that too. It's all bullshit, wasn't it? You know? Okay. So, this is her speech that she gave at the second reading. Now, this is when they're meant to go through it in greater detail. Miss Henderson, this bill is now being read a second time. So, you know, think about it. There's meant to be, and guys, watch this little video that explains to you, how long there's meant to be processes where they introduce a bill, then they go through it, and then they consider it in detail. It's utter bullshit, this video. This is from Victorian Parliament for kids, I'm assuming, or just everyone to explain. Remember the cash ban, how fast they reviewed that? It just boom, boom, boom. And honestly, I know this is going to be against the narrative, but I don't think politicians have enough time to go through this stuff properly. And I think the bureaucrats don't want them to have the time to go through this stuff properly. Okay. I asked that my second reading speech be incorporated into the Hansard. And the speech is incorporated as following. So, should I try and do it in my female politician? No, let's not. I'm running out of coffee here. And, I can't even get Rachel to bring me a coffee because she's at the friends up the street, probably getting sloshed for her birthday. We've actually, going completely off topic before I go to this, because I've been, bitching and moaning about a house that needs a lot of work. And so what we've decided to do, because the front of the house has moved a lot, so all the posts at the front have moved about 30 mils recently, and the front stairs are falling over, so we're going to have to build. We're going to have to lift. We're going to have to do it faster than anticipated. And so we've looked at the plans again. And we've now got a plan we're happy with, and we've broken the job into 2 stages, so we can do it slowly as we need, not overcapitalizing. So that she drew it all up quickly and shown it to a friend. So that's why she's in a good mood. So we've, maybe I should probably do a video just showing all the work we need to do, and do a whole series of raising a Queenslander, building it under, while I still can, Nico is saying Victorians are invading Queensland in record numbers. Well, I grew up in Victoria, mate. We came up. We were one of the Mexicans that came up in the recession Australia had to have. Thanks, Maria. I'll pass on your birthday greetings to her. So let's have a look. In April of this year, we met in this place to introduce a set of laws enacting a number of emergency measures, giving Victoria the tools we needed to face the unprecedented challenge that is this global pandemic. Do I sound like a politician? In passing those laws, we acted to protect Victorians and to make sure that crucial public services and systems could continue to serve the people in this state. In recognition of this unprecedented challenge, we ensured that these measures were time-limited and would sunset after 6 months. Unfortunately, the threat of this pandemic is far from over. Victoria, along with the rest of the world, must keep rising to meet the challenges of this virus. To do this, we need the life-saving emergency measures introduced by the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures Act 2020, the Omnibus Act. These life-saving measures. The bill extends the emergency measures we need to keep our state safe for a further 6 months. 6 months. New measures have also been identified as necessary to support the state's response to the pandemic and are introduced in this bill. Just as these measures have been a vital part of our response to the pandemic, they must continue to be a vital part of our response and, importantly, our recovery. Oh boy. Extensions of temporary measures in the Omnibus Act. The Justice Portfolio. The Omnibus Act introduced critical measures to address justice system impacts of the COVID-19 response, particularly in the corrections and youth justice system, to alleviate pressures that would otherwise compromise the system's capacity to continue to service delivery and response activities. This bill will extend most of those existing measures for a further 6 months. In summary, this bill extends the following measures. Reforms to evidence and procedure laws to enable courts to deal with priority matters effectively and in a way that reduces public health risks with COVID-19, including facilitating the use of electronic services of documents, audiovisual links, and making decisions based on written submissions or in the absence of a party. Honestly, it might be a good thing if they actually get the legal system more efficient. What do you reckon? Maybe not. It's going to backfire. Provide flexibility to courts to restrict physical access to courts and courtrooms to maintain public health. So, can they start streaming them? Providing more flexible procedures for bail matters without changing any of the tests or consideration for granting bail, including clarifying that a legal representative may appear in court on an accused person's behalf, expanding registrars' powers to allow them to adjourn matters and extend bail, and allowing courts, where consistent with the interests of justice, to remand certain accused persons for longer than 8 days, without accused being required to consent. Well, there you go. So, extended remands. Extending statutory timeframes to facilitate more effective prioritization of matters. Allowing judges alone trials in criminal cases. I think Mr. Nice Guy, you're suggesting a book, mate. I'm still working through Ordinary Men, mate. That's depressing enough right now. You know, so they can detain you for only 8 days, guys. It's not too bad. Not too bad. Flexibility in dealing matters under the Crimes, Mental Impairments and Unfitness to be Tried Act. Allow the magistrate courts to order electronic monitoring of community correction orders. Enabling effective management of health risks in the correction system, including restrictions. I mean, look at this electronic monitoring. This is just going to get incorporated into anything, isn't it? Enabling effective management of health risks in the correction system, including restrictions on visitors, mandatory quarantine of prisoners on entering prison, powers to separate, isolate, or quarantine a prisoner, or lock down all or a part of a prison, and powers to facilitate the assessment, testing, and treatment of a prisoner. Enable effective management of health risks in the youth justice system, including by allowing the isolation of children and young people in youth justice facilities to detect, prevent, or mitigate the spread of the pandemic. Extending the registration periods for infringements of fine from 6 to 12 months. Reforms for work cover. Amend the eligibility requirements for members of the Youth Parole Board. Allow the making of emergency regulations to alter or suspend existing laws relating to justice processes and procedures. These measures are extended until the 26th of April 2021, except those relating to worker compensation reforms, which will be extended until the 31st of December 2020. It is intended that the Youth Parole Board reforms will be made permanent on passage of identical amendments contained in the Justice Legislation Amendment, Drug, Court and Other Matters Bill 2020 that is currently before Parliament. So, judge-alone trials in criminal cases. The Omnibus Act temporarily amended the Criminal Procedure Act 2009 to enable the Supreme Court and County Court to order that accused persons charged with Victorian indictable offences may be trialled by a judge alone in certain circumstances. These provisions were initially introduced for a period of 6 months, following the court's decision in March to temporarily suspend jury trials due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Why couldn't they do jury trials remotely? Could someone explain, guys? Heise said, yeah, I know they can track us on our phones. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, it's a joke. But it's convenient. The phones are useful. So people put up with it. The Supreme Court and County Court have further delayed the resumption of jury trials due to the ongoing risk posed by COVID-19 in Victoria. As a further temporary measure, the bill will extend the provision of the Criminal Procedure Act 2009 that enabled the courts to order judge-alone trials for an additional period of 6 months to 2021. The extension of these provisions will help the justice system to address ongoing delays and uncertainty caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Flexibility for the court to restrict access to the court premises. The bill will extend temporary measures under the Omnibus Act that provided flexibility to courts to restrict physical access to courtrooms or amend their procedures where required to maintain public health. The bill will also extend temporary measures clarifying that authorized officers under the Court Security Act 1980 may exercise their existing powers relating to the security, good order, and management of court premises to maintain public health. These provisions are necessary to ensure that courts can continue to administer justice during the COVID-19 pandemic while limiting the risk of transmission to judicial officers, legal practitioners, and courts. Yep. The health risk of the youth justice system. I mean, we've seen all of this. She's just going through what was essentially said in that speech, guys. In that statement of compatibility. So, I don't think we need to go through the whole thing. I will link to this if you want to go through her speech. But she's just paraphrasing what was said in the other document. Now, there's one. So the Rotman thinks that they're going to vote in Andrews again. I'm just noticing in a comment because I decensored it. Yeah, well, I wonder. So what I want to do is I'll go, give me 2 minutes. And I'll go make a coffee. And then we'll come back and we'll have a look at, the amendments. Because we've seen the first reading. And we saw the compatibility statement. Then her speech was pretty much the compatibility statement. And then let's, they debate it. And then let's look at the amendments that they made. The amendments that they made. Because I need a coffee, guys. Okay, we're cool. Give me a moment, everyone. Give me a moment to get a coffee. And I'll be back. Because I've run out. And enjoy my B-stock footage there I've got for you. Okay, guys, how you going? B-Tiger's asking why I don't have a phone-in channel. Because I don't know how to do it. And I haven't looked into it yet, mate. But, we'll see. We'll see. Chris is saying, have I seen the explosion in cases in Australia? Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Got John Hopkins here. Where's Australia at? No, there hasn't been an explosion. We're only 26,000. That's not that much. Oh, look. Spike's going down. Only 850 deaths. Calm down. It's all good. There you go. 18,000 and a half people have recovered in Victoria. Nearly 3,000 have recovered in Sydney. 1,123 have recovered in Brisbane. There's no active cases in South Australia. You know, there's 2 in Northern Territory. 31 have recovered. 650 people have recovered in Western Australia. Fine. Oh, Austria. Austria. Oh, shit. Austria. No, I haven't. I haven't. Hang on. Where is it? Cases by region. Austria. It's not that high. Algeria. Armenia. Austria. 38,000. Yeah, they're spiking again. But let's go here. They've had 29,000. They've had less deaths than Australia. Do you see that? Oh, you don't see it there. Look, they've had less deaths than Australia. They've had 38,000 cases, 29,000 people recovered. They've only got 8,000 active. Guys, you need to focus on the recovery. You know? Oh, France, well, France has got a lot of social issues. I mean, they've got rats and everything all running through Paris as well, so that's a whole other world, guys. That's a whole other world. Okay. So here's the bill, guys. This is the bill. And I'll link to this if you want to go through it. But hang on. Oh, bugger. References. One sec. I'm breaking everything here. So here's the bill. So what's happened? What's happened in Parliament? They've had the... You know, they've introduced the bill. With that second, you know, the capability statement. Then her second reading speech was pretty much the capability statement re-paraphrased. And then we've got the... What is it after that? We've got the amendments. So the debate resumed. They had a debate. They had a debate. And I've got the Hansard here. Now, this is their debate, guys. I haven't even gone through this yet. I haven't even gone through this yet. And we'll have to see. I'll look at it later. Maria's asking what I'm talking about. Okay. It's probably a good time to do it. Probably a good time to do it. So, Victoria has implemented, or no, a new bill is being put into Victorian Parliament. And this is to extend the, well, it's the new COVID Omnibus Emergency Measures and Other Acts Amendment Bill. So they've already put a bill in. They want to essentially extend it to April. And one thing that's going through the media, and that we went through in this statement here, the statement of compatibility, is that they can give anyone who they determined has the capability or the skills or whatever, the rights to detain you, essentially, if they reasonably believe that you're going to act in a way that's, you know, counter to public health. And they can detain you. And they've made all these other changes to the laws as well, extending their powers, allowing them to detain people longer, getting rid of jury trials. So... And we're just explaining the process of how it's gotten through the lower house. Because there's 2 houses in Victoria. There's the lower house, because they're lucky they've got 2 houses. And this is a good little cartoon that explains it. And I'm not showing it here, because I don't want to get claimed. But they've got the Legislative Assembly, and it's gotten through there. It's gotten through there. It's gotten through all 3 readings. So what we looked at, that first document was the Statement of Compatibility. And that is how they get around their Human Rights Charter. So Victoria has a Human Rights Charter. And this is how they get around it. And her speech then, after the second reading, so the second reading, she gives a speech, and then they're meant to go through it in greater detail. And then they have debate, and they've made some amendments from the Greens. So let's have a shot of coffee and have a look at these amendments from the Greens. And Mr. Nice Guy, who's asking me about Crown shares? Mr. Nice Guy, I'm not sure, mate. I haven't been watching them. So that's the concern with all of this. That's the concern with that these are implementing restrictions on people's freedom, and it could be abused. I mean, someone who isn't trained could say, oh, well, I thought that they were going to act up, and then boom. Can you see? Particularly with the heightened issues that people have at the moment, how emotionally charged people are, and how frustrated and scared they are. So, and here we have the amendments. Guys, this was the amendments after the debate. The debate. So, in the Legislative Assembly. Clause 16. Amendments to be moved by Dr. Reid. Clause 16, page 12, line 20. After following, insert, other than a police officer, a protective service officer within the meaning of the Victoria Police Act 2013, or the holder of a private security operator license within the meaning of the Private Security Act 2004. Oh, well, there you go. So let's have a look at that clause. What's it? Page 12, clause 16, page 12, lines 20 or something. Okay, because it's only... We might go through this after. Page... What was it? Page 12, guys. Clause 16. So, oh, I hate going through this stuff. I tell you, it's no fun. Page 12, clause 16, line 20. Line 20. Line 20. Line 20. Okay, so they're just allowing for another person. Secretary may appoint authorized officer. Section 30. Has effect as if the following subsection were inserted after Section 31A. In addition, yeah. So they're allowing security guards as well. Fantastic. Didn't they do a good job with the hotel lockdown, guys? That's the Greens' contribution there. You know? And what other amendments? This is it. This is all the amendments. Okay, page 12, lines 28 to 30. Omit all words and expressions on these lines. Okay, they wanted to get rid of page lines 28 to 32. Lines 28 to 32. They're gone. So they've been omitted. I don't know what they are. I haven't got the original one. So, now, what happened at the third reading? The third reading, where in this nice little cartoon, they say it's the opportunity for people to, well, to talk to their constituents. You know, to talk to their constituents. What do you think happened there, guys? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. Second reading passed. The bill was not amended, and the third reading passed on the same day. So, let's, I mean, we don't need to go through this bill, do we? This bill is going to be in force. This is going to be in force the day after it passes the upper house. I'll let you go through this in your own, but I think the statement of compatibility, showing how they just ignored the Human Rights Charter, showing the powers that can be given to anyone they deem necessary, that's the real scary thing there. And that has the potential for abuse. This is the problem. They may think it's reasonable and fine what they're implementing. It sounds reasonable and fine in the arguments they're putting forward. But it can... lockpicking engineer doesn't want me to go through it. Thanks, mate. I don't want to either. it can have the power to stuff up. So, what can you do for the Victorians in there? You know? What can you do? These are your members of your upper house, the Legislative Council. You can reach out to them and raise your concerns. Raise your concerns, guys. So what do you think? The Animal Justice Party, how do you think he'll vote? Let me know in the comments, guys. You know, they'll go through, you know, I mean, animal... You know my opinion on animals, guys. I eat them. They're food stock. Sure, they can be companions, but they're food. You know? Labour Party will vote it in. Labour Party will vote it in. Labour Party will back the party. Labour Party will back the party. Back the party. Where's the debate, guys? Where's the debate? You know, they all just stick to the party. So we don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. What about Hinch? How do you think they'll vote? Yeah. They'll vote it in. I bet you they'll vote it in. You know? Fiona Patterson's Reason Party. They'll vote it in. You know, Adam Smoyerek, the Independent. He might be a shot. Dr. Catherine Cumming. She might be a shot, an Independent. You know? What's honourable about these Muppets? They're probably sacrificing a lot of their life to at least be hopefully protect your rights. Future X is telling me to start a petition. Mate, petitions are a waste of time. Okay, come on, seriously. If you go to any of those organizations, most of them just do it for you know, market research. You could start one at Parliament, but I'm not a member of... I don't live in Victoria. You know? I'd rather people contact their local members and raise their concerns. You know? You've got the Liberal Democrats. You know, Tim, you need to talk to him. I think you should contact your members of the Liberal Democrats, the Libertarians. Talk to the people in the party in Victoria, how you could reach out. I'm hoping these insane restrictions and lockdowns in Victoria can influence the election here in Queensland. But we don't even have an upper house. DM is asking, do I think they'll listen to anyone? Mate, you know, you can only try. Heise, what's the logical end point of the current political trajectory? Oh, mate, it depends how... how can we even have a logical end point? I mean, it's going crazy right now. You've got all these restrictions. This is extended until April. You've got... I think there's a lot of people that will take advantage of this political opportunity. We're seeing it on a global level. You've got the World Economic Forum, you know, and you've got a lot of people that, frankly, know better than us. That's what they think. They know better than us plebs. You know? You've got the Liberal Party. I mean, I can't imagine any of them backing it, but you'd hope they'd make some sound. So, this is it. These are the 40 people you have. You know? Can they keep the lockdown going till April? What if they get another surge? They can't do it, can they? It'll destroy them. It'll destroy them. The economy will be gone. When did Hinch lose his way? I don't think he ever... I think he was just a one-topic person, you know? So, I mean, there you go. At least you have an upper house, guys. We don't even have that luxury in Queensland. So, there we go. It's gotten through the lower house. the Legislative Assembly. It's going to the upper house. And it's concerning. And there'll be a lot of people. There'll be a lot of people that will... Adrian's asking, I reiterate my question with the expectations of an honest answer. Are you talking to me or someone else? Because I'm getting a bit confused here. Oh, with what's going to happen? Mate, I've got no idea. The logical outcome of this, well, we're going to have an extended recession, and there's going to be more and more freedoms restricted. There's going to be a steady slide to socialism. You've got a large portion of the population that are supporting this, that are cheering these restrictions. You've got a young generation that have got no idea what they'll be voting for. And, this can just keep going on and on. And there'll be, there are political movements around the world that are advocating for restricting your freedom, restricting your travel. Mate, it's screwed. I'm hoping, maybe naively, but I'm hoping there will be a significant shift in the Overton window and people will be outraged to such a point of what's happening here in Australia that it will make them politically activated and it will make them actually take a stand and vote differently. That's what I'm hoping will happen. That's why I'm talking about this stuff. Very least. And if everyone does that, if everyone starts talking about these things, at a barbecue, at a thing, or YouTube, or any media that you can, just to actually make people aware of what's going on here. This isn't some bullshit, foil hat conspiracy theory. This is changes that are being put in Parliament that have the potential to be abused by members of the public servants that are given power. And there's a historical precedent of that. That scares the shit out of me. Maybe just because I'm reading Ordinary Men right now, but it does. Maybe this is just the problem with democracy, guys. Too many dumb idiots that don't realize what's going on. Because isn't the old saying, you can vote your way into socialism, but you got to shoot your way out? See, that's why I'm hoping. Maybe all the Victorians, when they get a breath of freedom, will move up to Queensland, and then you'll start getting a more, a shift politically up here. But the problem is you got so many. Do I rate the success of our institutions right now? Depends on what ones you think. Is there any public confidence at all? I don't know. How's our banking system? How's our Reserve Bank? Look at the economy. Look at our. Let's just. Did I bring that chart up? Yeah, I did. I didn't mean to. Oh, anyway. If we look at a quality of life of the average Australian now, as opposed to a generation past, it's gotten worse. From that perspective, we can argue that our institutions are failing. Our education is getting worse, guys. Young people can't even buy a house. How many times are we reading these articles where people are too afraid to have kids because, we can't afford it, we can't do this. That's the thing. Are we seeing the fall of Western civilization, guys? Is that where it's headed? It's been a nice run, this whole freedom test experiment. We'll see. We'll see. But people are scared. People are scared, people are afraid. And when they're like that, what do they vote for? What do they vote for? They want to feel safe. They don't want to be scared. Dark Helmet, thanks thanks for the donation, mate. How's the house going? Is it all going good? Full spectrum's nurse. Sister is a nurse. She doesn't think it exists. Well, all my friends who are doctors think it's complete overblown. You know? I think we've seen a mass hysteria, to be honest. It just, the response doesn't seem proportionate. It doesn't seem proportionate. Hang on. How's that, guys? Is that good? There we go. I'll bring over your comments here. Because I don't think there's anything else to go through. You know? I mean, I feel sorry for anyone in Victoria going through this. Mr. Nice Guy is wanting to pick fights with crypto people. It's always entertaining. Florian, why haven't you covered the Global Economic Forum? Yeah, I have, mate. Yeah, I have. Look at my video. It's a live stream. You may not have seen it. I did it a while ago, the Great Reset. It did quite well. I think got 8,000 views. I find it on YouTube. Adam says the government's going to lock you all down again. Well, we've got an election here in Queensland, so, you know. Mr. Nice Guy, you look tired. Yeah, mate, I'm exhausted today. I'm exhausted. It's been a long day, mate. I think I'll finish up soon, you know. The Rotman says you can't tread on us much longer. I don't know if there's, I think a lot of people in Victoria like getting tread on, mate. That's what I'm worried about. One qubit. Please explain how Bitcoin is the hardest asset. Bitcoin fluctuates so much, mate. I prefer a nice chunk of metal, to be honest. You know, but I don't mind Ethereum. It's useful. We'll see. We'll see where it all goes. You know, but I wouldn't put everything in one basket, mate. You know. No problem, Globe. Thanks for joining, mate. So, Crest Cutter, they're taking licensed firearms for firearm licenses for COVID offences. Really? Thanks, Nicole. I was looking up what you need to get a gun license, to be honest. Rachel says if I go hunting, she'll learn to butcher. Which might be worth doing. I mean, bloody hell. We couldn't get venison from the butcher. Hang on, John. I ended up in hospital 2 days ago with possible cardiac arrest. Here on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, was chastised by the staff for not being tested in an area where only 2 cases... Oh, mate. I hope you're okay. Take care of yourself. Don't worry, they're just afraid. They're scared. Lost a gun license for travelling over 5 kilometres. Oh, well. They'll find it. Bogan 06. Yeah, mate. You can find it on there. It's another live stream. Phil is recommending the Gulag Archipelago should be mandatory reading at school. You know? Andrew's a butcher. Fantastic. Thanks, mate. Well, we actually got a butcher across the road. Although he's moving, I reckon. Be good to do. You're going about apartments in Victoria. They're building a lot of old age homes too. Yeah, I can see a lot of people getting into that. Daniel's saying a rifle club on the sunny coast. Okay. I'll have. I mean, I can't really buy a gun until I get the house lifted, because then I need to get the, you know, a safe or something to put it in, because I don't want the kids getting into it. But then, you know, with all of this, I appreciate. Crest Cutter saying got a bow. Yeah, mate, I got it right behind me. You see it there? And I went and bought some mulch, sugarcane mulch bags. And hang on, I'll adjust this. And I use it to shoot. Hang on, I don't like my curtain there. There we go. Tell I'm an architect, I want the image centered. How many Victorians will be leaving as an estimate? 30,000, some people were saying. Didn't we see in an article? About the meat supply, yeah, there's issues with that, apparently. I mean, we've got a lot of meat. We bought a whole beast. We went crazy. Oh, hang on. Did someone else... Did someone else give a... Thank you. Oh, yeah. There we go. What? There's a good range at Yatla, where you walk through the bush. Okay. I'll have to have a look. What? A shooting range or an archery range? Yeah, that ain't too far from me. Chewy, no worries about the meat supply. I think the biggest thing is probably the meat works, you know? And transportation, I think they're the real problem. Or they're the potential for delays. But I just like having a lot of food, you know? Eating steak. Oh, mate, in the name of Jesus, I committed to being a vegetarian. Read the Bible again. You know, go back to Cain and Abel. Who did God like? He didn't like the vegetarian, did he? He wanted the meat, the fat. You know, it's right there, mate. God hates vegans. Well, he doesn't hate them, but he doesn't like veggies. I say that to all the Christian vegans. I know, it pisses them off. I'm eating slow-cooked lamb shanks right now. I've been eating a lot of steak. A lot of steak. Oh, it's bloody good. You know? Only steak now? Yeah, well... I mean, when my mother comes up, she'll like bring carbs for the kids and for Rachel, and I'll feel it just eating it, just being naughty, you know. I'm on the chocolate frappe diet. Yeah, well, I mean, diet. Hang on, let me. One thing that's quite interesting that I'll learn going down the slow carb, high fat and diet stuff is that depression can often manifest, or not depression, vitamin deficiencies can often manifest as depression. I need 20 steins of coffee to deal with the onslaught of comments. Oh no, mate, I'm used to it. I only have about 4. I wish they made a pizza entirely out of bacon. You can do that yourself, mate. I've done that. It's good. Have you ever considered doing a historical series topical to policy changes within Australia and watershed moments, times like Whitlam, Howard and his refugees overboard? Yeah, that would require a lot more effort than I do on my channel. you know. But it's a good idea. It is. It is. It depends. I mean, we're about to, you know, work on our house, so avoiding doing work and chores by doing my YouTube is, you know, going to get difficult. Debt and regret. Florian, have you watched any of the Ireland housing bubble documentaries? Their debt levels, huge migration for labour shortages sounded like Oz. No, I haven't. I'll have a look. I mean, the only Irish content I watch on YouTube is Computing Forever, and he's getting more and more worried. It sounds bad in Ireland. I mean, Ireland's different to Australia. What's going on over there? I mean, we're a colony on the edge of the world. They're a old world country that's just getting screwed over entirely. I mean, what's happening in Europe is, I'd argue, is done intentionally. It's different to happening over here. Here, I think we're just obsessed with bloody housing. Phil likes Computing Forever as well. But, I mean, is he... I don't know if he has kids. Does he? I don't know. I like his what is it, review of TV shows. Like his other channel, he reviews movies and stuff like that, which is quite good. I quite enjoy that. When I mentioned the Victorian situation, he thought it was a joke. Yeah. I'll have to watch his video about it. Mr. Nice Guy's shitty because we've given him more content. That's the way to do it, guys. Romanian V. I've heard of him. I haven't looked at it. Here we go. Bogan 06. Irish citizen here. Came over when I was 6. Went back for my honeymoon for a year. Broke my heart. Lads, broke my heart. Actually, there's another Irish guy I watch on YouTube. Ducky. He just does some funny ass shit. Really funny, like a duck cartoon, tearing into his missus and drinking with the blokes. Completely non-political. Most of the stuff I watch on YouTube isn't political. It's quite entertaining. I'd recommend that if you want to laugh, if you need one. Hang on. Brett, so glad I'm not in retail anymore, working at Aussie BB. So much better than tech support. So are you getting, buying the shares, mate, or are you getting free shares? I'm assuming you're talking about AussieBroadband. Who's on that? Who's getting the shares, guys? Let us know in the comments. Because I think I'll chuck a little bit at it, you know. I mean, it's a well-known brand. Service is good. Trish, I'm a tad late. Have I missed much? You've missed the whole video, really. We looked at... what was it called? Really the statement of compatibility, which is how the Victorian Labor government gets around their human rights charter, and the scary things are in there where they can pretty much give anyone who they consider the rights, can arrest you, or detain you, sorry, if they reasonably think you're going to do something wrong. And now I'm just chatting and having some coffee. Sergeant Ducky, yes. Yes, that's it. That's it. He's funny. B Tiger saying non-compulsory voting is the key. Would we get enough people active politically, or will only the crazy, you know, the real nutters get active? Maybe. I like our preferential system, but, you know, A lot of people don't understand how that works. Ah, Yuri's warning to the west. Yep, I've seen that. I mean, yeah. Not sure we want to be like the US. Look at how Trump got in. They're a republic. They're a republic. They're a different political system to ours. Mr. Nice Guy likes the niche channels. Robert saying, you don't need to just vote for Liberal or Labour, mate. Vote for a minor, and then they can get the $3, or they can probably get someone into Parliament. And use your preferences. Bookend them with the one of the two evil bastards you want, but push up a minor. Push up a minor in your upper house. Get them in the House of Reps. We had to talk to Stuart Bonds last year. He nearly got in with One Nation in the Hunter. You know? Would you consider scheduling your streams? Mate, that's organized. I'm not that organized, mate. You know? I usually get up early in the morning and do my stream before I start doing my videos before I start doing real work, and try and get them out every 2 hours. And occasionally I'll do a live stream just when something takes my fancy. I don't want to be organized. I got 5 kids. No chance. No chance. But a good idea. A good idea. But I'm not gonna. I'll just disappoint you all if I promise that. I know that already. I'm old enough to know when I'm not capable of doing shit. Is that fair? One qubit. Good night, mate. Take care. I'm just looking here at all the streamer comments, guys. Oh, we still got 200 people here watching. So, while I got you here, what do you think about the new thumbnails? Do you like the people in the corner to get an emotional response, or do you not? What do you prefer? Let me know in the comments, guys. Brett is saying, I don't know how he does architecture work anymore. We've got a project that's just about under construction, just finished. So it's kind of maintenance mode at the moment. It's kind of maintenance. And I've decided to only do one project at a time. So I've got a bit more free time. You know. But, you know, I'll just record the videos. I'll get up earlier in the morning. You know. Meg, you look too young to have 5 kids. Oh, hey, you know, sex is fun. I mean, come on. When you're married, you know. Bettina Arndt talks about all the sexless marriages. That's terrifying. That's really sad. You know. That's the worst thing, I think. Florian's a machine, the way he pumps out the videos. Nah, mate, just low quality. Just low quality. Heise has a baby face. Oh, wait till the grey comes, mate. Oh, actually, keto. Keto's made me look a lot younger, although I've packed on a few more kilos again. My best friend has 14 kids. Awesome. It's good to hear. I mean, we are planning an extension with another 4 bedrooms downstairs just to support our house, you know? You might get work designing Gulag pens. Yeah, well, I am a modular architect. So, yeah. There's nothing left to go grey. Exactly. That's the trick. That's the trick. You cut it off and it won't go grey. You know, I found a solution. Dark Helmet likes the thumbnail. If things get worse, you and your kids may need to start building an ark. Well, I actually have a 24-foot Catalina, or Boomeroo, in the yard that I need to repair. So I'll be fine. If the flood comes, I'll just go to that. Yeah. Andrew's saying go the beard. The beard's a lot of work, mate. It's itchy. We'll see. I'll get lazy. The Grand Wizard, do I like brisket meat? Yeah, Rachel makes it. She makes it. We get the whole animal. She does everything. It's awesome. Florian pumps out the videos fastest. He pumps out the kid. Thanks, Brett. Good night, mate. I think I'll, oh, hang on. Wait. The most important question here. Xbox or PlayStation? Shit. Well, I've actually got both, but that's just all for console peasants. A real gamer needs a computer. Okay? You need to build your own rig. You need to get a good graphics card and build your own machine water-cooled. You know, PC. Not... I've got a PlayStation 3, I like it. I prefer the interface of PlayStation, but I got the Xbox. But yeah. Well, guys, I'm gonna... I think I'll... What is it? 9:30, yeah? I might go play a bit of games. I'm gonna relax and play some... What is it? I've got the Rail Empires for free on Epic. So I'll relax and play that. Or maybe I'll go see what Rachel's doing. If she's gotten sloshed with her friend. Anyway, guys, thank you all for joining me for this live stream. And, I mean, remember, if you're in Victoria, contact your members in the Legislative Council. Let them know you've got issues with this legislation. Let them know why you have issues with this legislation. Refer to particular things in the legislation or in that they're getting around the Human Rights Charter and how you're worried about it. You know? That's what I'd suggest. So good night, guys. Thank you all very much. Thank you to all the people that that supported with super chats. That really helps. It lets me, you know, buy things like the software that I use, you know, and the cameras and things to make my really dodgy ass content. Thanks everyone, guys. Take care, and I will see you all, well, probably tomorrow. Bye for now.